Okay, everyone, I just wanted to come in real quick and do a video discussing some of the common misconceptions that I saw or noticed on yesterday's assignment. So, yesterday's assignment was reviewing of adding and subtracting integers, and this is just a quick thing that I typed up so that we can have some organization. So remember with the absolute value, the term is always positive. These are considered absolute value bars. Whatever comes out of absolute value bars is always going to be positive. The absolute value is just the distance that an integer in this case is away from zero. Like I said in class, you always want to keep an absolute attitude. That just means to stay positive. So in the case of these three different expressions we have here, the absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of a negative 1 is a positive 1. And the absolute value of a negative AB, whatever those values are, is just going to be AB. Take a second if you need to and write that down. Inequalities were absolute values. This is like numbers 5 and 8 on that same class kick. So the absolute value of -2, we want to know if it's greater than, less than, or equal to a -1. So remember the absolute value, always positive. This can be rewritten as 2 having a relationship with -1. So what would go in that box in this case? 2 is greater than -1, so we would make sure to point at the -1. So in that box, you should have had a greater than sign. And then the same rule applies to the next one. The absolute value of a -9, positive 9. So the relationship between 9 and 9, they're equal. So inside that box, we should have had an equal sign. That's okay. We all make mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. Let's keep it going. Write that down if you need to. This is where we get into the sum. Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the higher number, then it will be exact. So in the examples on this slide, we had 1 and 2. So the signs are the same for 7 and 13. So we're just going to add and keep it positive. So that one will be 20. Here you got -8 and a -5. Those signs are the same. This is an example of me borrowing $8 and then coming back and borrowing 5 more. Altogether, I owe you $13. So that should have been a -13. If you need to go back and fix that, go back and fix that in the class kick. I'll be looking at grades this weekend. So take a second and write that down. You might need it. This portion is here is dedicated to different signs subtract. So the signs are different here. We have a negative and a positive, a positive and a negative. So we're going to subtract in both cases, and we're going to keep the sign of what the higher number is. The higher number here is 11. 11 is positive, so my answer is going to be a positive 9. Here, I have 9 and a -10. The absolute value of -10 is higher than 9. So for that reason, the answer here is going to be a -1. Different sign, we subtracted. Take a second and write that down. One section that I like to deal with because it deals with subtraction. Now, truthfully, I had a college professor to teach me that there's no such thing as subtraction. We are only adding negative numbers. So let's apply that concept. The first example we have is a -3 minus 3. If we follow his rule, this is equivalent to a -3 plus a -3. And so for that reason, we now have same signs. So same sign, add and keep. I'm going to add these two terms and keep the sign. So a -6. Pausing for you to write that down. But remember, I'm going through these kind of fast, and my reason being is because we're on video. You can always go back, stop, adjust it, replay things. Also, I'd appreciate any feedback if I am speaking way too fast. Please let me know. Okay, thank you. Now, this was number 5 on that slide. It gave a few people problems. So what I'm going to do is do a rewrite. If there is no such thing as subtraction, then I'm going to rewrite this. This one's going to look a little different as 9 plus a -1 times a a negative 8. So you already know, you may know that two negatives make a positive. I'm going to write on this. What I used to tell my students was, doesn't that look like a sleeping guy? And when you're sleeping, aren't you happy? So we can change that to 9 plus 8 if you want to use that as a shortcut. But that's what we're going to have here. 9 plus 8, which equals 17. All right, take a second and write that down. Go back and change the answers if you need to. This problem was a special request problem, and I said I would make this in the video, add this to the video. So homework problem number 9 said evaluate the expression when A is equal to a negative 2, B is equal to a negative 8, and C is equal to 5. Given the expression 4 minus A minus C. And I probably should have made this a little bit bigger, so give me a second to write it over. Okay, so what we're going to do is substitute in the values that we have here for A and C. In this case, we don't need B. So I'm going to write 4. Let's see. I want to see if I got a different color. Minus and a minus for what's already given. And then for A, I'm going to plug in a negative 2. And for C, I'm going to substitute in a 5. And then I'm going to do my best to simplify this. Okay? Keeping up with the same rule. No such thing as minus a negative. So we're going to go with 4 plus a negative 1 times a negative 2 plus a negative 5. Okay? What's going to happen here? You have your negative 1 times a negative 2. Once again, a sleeping guy. So that's going to become, a positive 2 minus 5. Okay? 4 plus 2, 6 minus 5. Your final answer is 1. I hope you found this video to be assistive to you, or an experience that you can keep up with. If you have any questions, I will be available. Just let me know. Have a great day. Good to have you here. Thank you. Bye-bye.